What is going on, YouTube and Y'all Squad? This is your boy YahCrateas. This is your review for Love and Marriage DC Season 2. I believe it's Episode 5. It'll be in the title. This gave a lot, and I feel like this review is probably going to be long. So y'all just make sure y'all got y'all something to eat on, drink on, whatever, because it was a lot here. And I have one, two, I have 4 pages of notes front to back. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So we pick up where we left off, where you have the Tylers having a family meeting, which seems more like an intervention than an actual let's just put everything out on the table. Now, Brittany starts off by saying, "Dearly beloved," this is her way of trying to, in essence, create an atmosphere and trying to use comedy to kind of like reduce the tension, and says, "I am tired of having a one-on-one with you, and you." And a lot of this is internalized. You are tired. You don't want, because you got to listen to what people say, because never mind. I'm not even going to. Anyway, that's what she said. She said that they need to put everything on the table. So Jamie Jr. says, I'm sorry, Senior says to Junior, "My issue with you is, where are you in life? You still live with me." Let me stop here. What is happening is we're dealing with smoke, and I don't like that. And here's what I mean. And hopefully y'all can take this. Imagine there's a fire, right? The fire department comes. The fire department don't care. The only thing that the smoke tells them is there is a fire here, and they're trying to see, here's the smoke, let me find the fire. They find the fire. The attempt is to put it out. But in order to put out the fire, they also have to know what the source is. And only in knowing what the source is can they then put out the fire. Because is it electrical? Is it gas? Is it chemical? What is it? So it's clear. We're starting this off with smoke, a smoke screen. But he says, "My issue with you is where you are in life." I believe that's an issue. I don't believe that is the issue. So what he is saying, that is somewhere in between the fire and the smoke. That is not, the source. Says, "You still live with me." I feel like, let me see, like the way, feel like, what is it? I feel like it has something to do with how I am. That right there, I was okay with. Where he's saying, "I feel like where you are, I play a part." And Brittany says, "Look at God. Thank you for taking accountability." And then Jamie Sr. then says, "I can." Then he needs to take accountability of the fact that he isn't where he needs to be. Again, we're still dealing with the smoke here. And I appreciate what Brittany is doing. I just didn't like this setup because first and foremost, we don't know who the mediator was supposed to be. Even and in a situation such as this, there needed to be a mediator, because once he said that, Irena jumps in and asks, "How can we help you?" Which was a good question, but what people weren't seeing, that I know that I was seeing, is they didn't see his body language. And the fact that this was sprung on, again, we know it's TV, they know they was filming, whatever, but because this situation itself was sprung on both parties are going into this defensively. If Irena, Jamie Sr., and Mama T knew they were coming to sit here and hash stuff out, and if Jamie Jr., he probably wouldn't have came had he known, but if he came in knowing that this is what the meeting was for, they all of them would still be somewhat defensive, but not as much. So he's already guarded. But Irena asks, "How can we best help you?" And Junior says, "I just need to find a way to make money." Now he is addressing what Jamie Sr.'s issue is. Again, that's not the issue, but whatever. So Irena asks, okay, what about job or career? He doesn't know right now. Mama T tells him you have to have it in you to better yourself, which is true, which is all facts. But at the same exact time, even though nobody really has a tone or a two, Jamie Sr. has a slight one. It's three different people talking to him. And I wish that Brittany would have been like, when you were going to ask, how can I? No, my mama, no. Let dad and let Junior, let them talk, since that's where the conversation is starting. Then once we get, you know what I'm saying? Because even though they were not ganging up on him, you can tell by his posture that he felt like he was being ganged up on. And Jamie Sr. says, all of us wanted more than you wanted for yourself. Okay. Junior tells us that he was blindsided and is shutting down. He's choosing to shut down rather than to go off. Which, if this was real therapy, yeah, you can't do that. But he's doing that for a reason, because he knows his personality and that he's only going to add more fuel to the fire, and then there's going to be a big blow up. Got it. So then Sr. says, you need to get it in your heart to say, I will do this for me to make these people proud while they're still here. And again, this is difficult. Yes, he needs to get it in his heart to do it for himself. But to say, so you can make these people proud, is not about y'all. It's about him. And then Jamie Senior says, do you hear me? And he begins choking up. I'm going to be very honest. I wasn't moved. I wasn't. Because for me, this seems like it was manipulation. Because it was no different than what we saw Ashley's mom do in the previous episode. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying that's how it felt to me. Okay. Mama T says, I worry about you. And she starts to cry. I feel it. But again, I still feel like we're putting on the waterworks to sit here and try to get you to be a certain way. Irena tells Jamie Jr. that she shared his text messages about him, about his mental health and potentially harming himself. Which he didn't say anything, but it's one of those understandable. But if he's coming to you about it, probably needed to stay between you and him. Because in sharing that, it can come off as if betraying trust. He didn't say nothing about it, so whatever. She says that she is concerned and takes it very seriously. Irena, I'm calling you out. That's bull. Because if you do take this seriously, and if in fact he has been saying that his mental isn't great and that he has been wanting to not be here since he was in his teens, and now he's 26, and now we're just addressing it, you don't take it seriously. You're taking it seriously now because, one, you shared this on television, and two, because the Silvers came at you about it. So now you got to save face and try to fix this thing. Let's keep it a buck. Then she says, I'm tired of this roller coaster between y'all. She gets crunk and says, y'all need to do something about it. Hold up. That was an escalation there. And I'm sorry. I'm gonna try not to put myself too much into this. And says, I need you to talk. You can't force the man to talk. And again, with the tone and everything else, she started out pleasant and then gets crunk. It's like he's going to further shut down. Jamie Sr. says they need to have a professional sit down in the room and have this conversation. When he said that, cool, I'm here. I agree with it, even though that's what your wife told you. And nevertheless, why did it take upwards of 10 years for this to happen now? But okay. Then says to Irena, this is the ultimatum. And this is where I'm like, because again, he's letting her know, this is my house. Like, where we stay is my house. So this is what the ultimatum is. If he doesn't want to do it, then he's going to have to live with his girlfriend, meaning he got to pack up all his stuff and change his address. And then looks at his son and says, are you able to meet with a professional with me? What do you think? And that was so loaded. And I'm like, this isn't helping. It really isn't. And then Junior doesn't want to see a psychiatrist. He says, I don't need to talk to anybody. Now, of course, I think we all can agree that he needs to, but he doesn't want to talk about his issues. And of course, this whole meeting is, how can the family heal? Senior says, don't think it's all about you. And Junior says, it is. It's always been about me. I'm like the bad batch. That's why I feel how I feel. Then he gets up because he needs space, and then he goes and sits on the stairs. I'm gonna just keep going because I know we're gonna be here for a while, and I'm trying. Okay. So he sits on the stairs and he says to himself, I'm being looked at as the problem in the family. Now, Brittany goes to talk to him. So she goes down the stairs, turns to him, crouches down, and is talking to him. Now you have a dominant stance. And now it's, you need to hear what it is that I'm saying. Again, body language, what's being said, what's not being said, tone, inflection, all of that matters. And then she says, in an elevated tone, saying no one wins when the family feuds. So she cares more about the family dynamic instead of what's going on with her brother. She says, stop censoring yourself because it's not all about you. And then she gets choked up. Again, I feel like all of this is very manipulative and performative, because in essence, it is about him. It's about each one of y'all individually. And they individually need to become whole. Because what happens with a lot of constructs, family dynamics, friendship dynamics, is these groups typically get you to believe that the only way you can be whole is if you are a part of this, that we make you whole. And if you don't want to do it how we say, we just gonna kick you out the bunker and let you sit here and try to see if you can live out on your own. And when you know that you can, you come back with your tail tucked between your legs. I still just don't like it. But anyway, Jamie, Scene, and Raina, are there, standing while he's sitting, dominant stances. Brittany says, I want what's best for you. Lies. No, you don't. She may want that, but in this moment, that's not it, because you're telling him to do this for the family and not for you. Because at no point is like, okay, talk to me, bro. Tell me what's going on. How can I best help you do that? We ain't getting none of that. None of that. And she says, that's why I keep trying to talk to you. But when you shut down like this, it's a slap in the face for everyone. I don't want you to feel attacked or anything. Then Irena sits down next to him and just kind of like rubs, the upper part of his shoulder blades. And Senior says he needs him to stop shutting down. And this is the one part that I was like, okay, he says it might not just be you. I might need to hear this myself. It's not all about you. Okay. But I may be coming off wrong. So it's like, okay, there's a bit of self-reflection here. Might be because the cameras are there. Brittany asks him, okay, are you open to going to counseling? So in essence, beat him down, beat him down, beat him down to get him to say it, because that's all that y'all wanted. Y'all didn't want nothing else. To me, it appeared they didn't care. Again, I could be wrong. Jamie Jr. In a defeated state says, yeah, and says that he will do the therapy. He says this to us because it's not for him. It's for us, meaning I'll do this so my father and I can talk about our issues, but I don't have to talk about mine. Okay, let me speed it up. So we get Winter. She's looking for a venue for her divorce party. Sherelle is there. Winter feels that Sherelle might get upset with her because she wants Sherelle to get the other girls to come there, so they can, have a good time, and kind of like put stuff behind them and whatnot. You want them there so this can be seen, so this can be, shot for the show. Know what it is. Sherelle wants her to have a one-on-one mainly with Ashley because it seemed like those two have like the biggest problems compared to everybody else. They rehash the event. Sherelle shares with Winter Irena wanting to bring Joy to her event and then told her everything that Joy said. Winter is curious why she would even bring this information back to her. I would also agree, but we know why. And Sherelle needs to get clarity with the Joy situation. Okay, whatever. We get Quick and Ashley. Long story short, their son got suspended from school because he had left his jacket on the table. I think he walked away, came back, jacket was gone. Someone told him who had his jacket, went to the classroom that boy was in, called him out in front of everybody, grabbed the boy's backpack, and then next thing you know, they started scuffling and he got suspended. And rather than Quick address the timeline of how everything happened and walking him through a better way to have dealt with it, all he said is, what if the guy had drugs or a gun in his backpack? And he could have easily said that you planted on him and now you're in a worse situation than where you were. Absolutely no resolution. What else we got? We have Joy and Sherelle. They exchange pleasantries. It's awkward energy. Joy says, I don't want to have an issue with you. Sherelle says, I didn't have an issue with you until Irena came to me and said to me the things that you said about my husband. Well, there it is. And she says, you don't want to hear someone say something about your soon to be husband. Are y'all married? Don't matter. And about your husband and bad business and being shady. Joy replies she never said the word shady, which she didn't, and we're somewhat dealing with semantics, but not really. And then she says in her interview that she never said the word shady, but in a roundabout way, well, yeah, he is kind of shady. So Sherelle wants Joy to tell her what the issue is, and then she can tell her what she knows about the situation. And Joy said, I feel all parties should be present, as do I, because it's crazy to me. And I just wish that Joy would have said, I have an issue with your husband. And because I have this issue with him, you are an extension of him. And if I say anything about your husband, you're going to be 10 toes down about him and this, that, and the third. And I just don't want to deal with that. That's all she had to say, but she didn't. But she says, I know Alfred before you. Sherelle says, I know him now. Do you know people grow and change? Which leads me to believe you know more than what you're leading on, and you know that he probably did some effed up stuff. And Joy pretty much shares that the band was doing good, had a great opportunity. Before they went on tour, two of the band members decided to quit, so they had to audition new people, and they ended up hiring two new people to replace the two that left. The tour was successful, and at the very end, Alfred decided he wanted to leverage his position by bringing in the two people that had quit and said, well, if y'all don't want them in, then I'm going to just leave the group. And Sherelle says she knows about the ultimatums. And I'm kind of trying to figure out then, why are we here? Sherelle wants to know why they didn't talk. Joy said he had years to initiate a conversation. It didn't happen. Sherelle says he is saying what he has done to me. Yes, to you, not to her. Joy asks her, what does she want? And what issues does Sherelle have with her personally? Sherelle says she cannot be in a space with someone who talks about her husband in the way that Irena said that you did. Again, you let people talk, they say enough, and I just wonder if she was listening to her self-talk. Joy says maybe things got lost in translation. Sherelle now needs to have a convo with Irena because she and Joy did not need to do this. Joy tells us the meeting was pointless and Sherelle's clarity is not her concern. I happen to agree. So now we get to Jamie Jr., Jamie Sr., and Dr. Cunningham, the therapist. So opens up with a question, why are you here? Jamie Jr. Says, we bump heads a lot, and recently we had a situation that almost turned physical. The question is what led up to the conflict? What happened? And Jamie Jr. says it all started with a text message. And he explains what the text message situation was. Then Senior says to the therapist, you can take care of your lifestyle, but not the tickets you get on a car. We just bought you. I felt like that was a little bit loaded too. Like, had to let him know, like, yeah, I bought him the car, but whatever. He added to the text. This is what Senior is saying to the therapist that his girl is the only one that holds him down. Now things are going left. We're yelling back and forth. And they're talking about, how everything erupted at Jason's party. So then the question is, what did you get out of screaming back and forth? They both say that they were mad, but Jamie Sr. added that he had been drinking, and Dr. Cunningham says, I'm not going to let you use that as an excuse. I'm like, oh, okay, come on. So Senior says being a detective for 25 years, Jamie Jr. is 26. Okay. And being strict slash stern, and maybe that translated into how I raised the kids. And here it's like, good, we're reflecting, good. You're seeing how this contributed to that. Going so now again, we obviously didn't get all of the therapy session, obviously, because I do therapy at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, and our sessions last a whole hour, so I know there was more there. So the doctor says, as the adult, you can handle things differently as well. Facts. Not because you're the parent, but because you are older than him, you have more life experiences. You should be able to regulate. I'm paraphrasing, but you should be able to regulate your emotions and whatnot and how you deal with your son. So Junior says that he's used to. Hold on. What? What here? What? One second. Okay, he's saying that he's glad that the doctor is saying what he's saying to his father because that's exactly how he feels, but he does not have the words or the vocabulary to be able to explain it in the way in which the doctor is. Got it. So the doctor says because of who you are, he's saying this. I'm sorry. He says because of who he is, talking about Jamie Jr., it has built up anger and disappointment, and you automatically go from 0 to 1,000, and you have to learn to hold back. Exactly. But at the same exact time, and again, it's the first therapy session, so they can't go deep. Hopefully, there's subsequent therapy sessions, not only collectively, but individually, but also it's the whole what is causing the anger and the disappointment. Again, not what the smoke is, but what is the cause for the fire. And getting there will more than likely help Jamie Sr. And then he asks Jamie Jr., what do you need from your dad to make you feel that you can actually be a good person? And then Junior says he needs to trust that I am growing up. It may be a while before I get to where I feel like I made it. And then the doctor is like, what's getting in your way? What's blocking you? And Junior's trying to figure it out, and he says, you. And he's right. We are like, regardless of what we've gone through, what circumstances are, at the end of the day, we do have to take responsibility and accountability, and we have to be in control of our own lives. And he says the work starts with you being consistent and accountable and being honest and real. So Junior says he's been hearing this his whole life, saying this to us, but he's able to receive it because of how it's being presented to him. I also feel that it's because the person that's talking to him is neutral, is very calm in the delivery, and also he just heard him pretty in essence check his father. So yeah, I can receive this. The doctor says to Senior, change takes time. Like we it's gonna take a minute for his son to get where he needs to be, but it's gonna take time. And then he asks Junior, is there a way that your father talks to you to where your walls go up? And he says, yeah, it is. And then he also says the way that he speaks to him makes him feel, worth nothing. And the doc wants to know, has the father heard this? And Senior says, you shares the text messages that Irena shared with him and says, the last fight they had triggered him to send another message to Irena saying how, he didn't want to be here. So the dot asks, when was the last time you felt like harming yourself? He said a while ago, a month or two. And the doc's like, that's not that long ago. And Junior said, I was in a bad place, such the problem child. And let me just go ahead and disappear. I feel like the world is grabbing me and choking me, and I feel hopeless. I know that feeling. But it was that piece when he said, being such the problem child. In essence, if I'm such a problem child, then why am I here? And I felt like in this moment, Jamie Sr. was actually listening. Because a lot of us here to respond, he's actually internalizing what his son is saying. They definitely needed this. So Senior says to us from his vantage point, Junior's life isn't that bad. But for him saying he's going through something to where he doesn't want to be here, thinking about things and what's going on in the world right now is giving him a new look on things, and he will start taking things more seriously. That's what he tells us, but more or less the producers. The doc says that he will not minimize what he feels, but he needs to get to a point to. I'm sorry, but he feels. I'm sorry, minimize how he feels, but what has gotten him to this point? What is his contribution to feeling the way that he feels? You don't have to say it, but you but you need to vow that you will not um go to continuing I'm sorry, continue to do things that make you feel that you don't want to be here because I'm telling you that life matters. You are the reason, and boys like you or people like you, dark skinned black people, African Americans, whatever you want to say. Well, not dark skinned, but black people, African Americans, that got him into this job because there is so much potential in youth that looks like him and don't want them to think they don't have potential. The doc then kicks out Jamie Sr. to talk to Junior, and pretty much since he heard that he wanted to harm himself, wanted to make sure that before we leave here, you don't have any thoughts of doing it right now. And then even says, oh wait, and then asks him, what could you do to not think about it? And he says, nothing. And then the doc pretty much just says, I will make sure that you leave here with my number. So if you ever get back into that space, you can just call me and we can talk it out, which I appreciated that. And lets him know you can do anything that you want to do, but you have to do the work. Can you do the work? He says yes, and the doc says, I'm believing in you. I'm getting through this faster than what I thought because I would have spent more time on the first part of this episode. But anyway, we get Quick. He's in his neighborhood. We found out that it wasn't the best growing up, but it seems to have grown. Find out that he was actually shot on that block. Quick gives, his speech. He gets choked up, wishing that his parents were there. Understandable. After the street placard is unveiled, Sherelle decides that she wanted to get Cliff Joy, the Tylers, to talk things out because she knows that it's not the right time, but it was boiling up on the inside of her. And in her getting them together, of course, the Silvas are standing right there. And she says, looking at Irena, which to me was very passive aggressive because she could at least just address Irena, I'm talking to you, but nevertheless, and says that she spoke with Joy and she wants to be clear about where she stands in this space. She will not do the he said, she said. I had a convo with Joy because of the conversation that we had, and Irena is like, okay, so you're talking to me and not everybody else. Yes. She said, I had a convo with Joy over her saying, Alfred was shady. And she never said that to you. I just want to be clear on the way messages are delivered because I would not deliver a message and play with words that would affect people's marriages and families. Shady is an effed up word. And I think it's more than just the word shady. And if shady is the only, hiccup, it makes me think, But again, you can't tell a person how mad to get and when to get over stuff. So Irena says shady was the word that describes your husband. Sherelle's like, almost like, my husband, my husband. And Sherelle replies, you said what? Because she's taking it back. You don't know him like that. Irena is trying to explain, but Sherelle is over talking her. Quick tries to, calm the situation. Like pretty much, in essence, one thing, like if y'all finna argue, take it all the way over there because this ain't the place. Ashley kind of puts her hand and kind of like moves him out the way because it's just like, these are women. Let me get in. That's kind of the, the energy and the mannerism that she was giving. And she doesn't say anything right away. Irena says, I didn't describe him. Joy did. She said he was unethical and untrustworthy. That's shady. Those weren't the words. But again, in a roundabout way of summarizing things, yes, but that ain't what she said. And Sherelle tells her to use the words that she said. And Irana doesn't feel that she has to. But I get what Sherelle is saying. Like, if you're going to bring it back to me, tell me exactly what this person said. Not what you think they said or taking what they said and summing it up to this. Because things can get lost in translation. Ashley's trying to break it up. Irena says, if you look in the dictionary, shady is unethical and trustworthy. I didn't describe him. I'm the messenger. I said shady. She didn't. It's the same dang on thing. You never heard of the word? Let me read it to you. I'm like, ooh, that is so shady. And these two end up going back and forth. The husband pulled them away from each other, and that is the end of the episode. So that is all that I got. I know some of y'all not gonna agree with some of what I said, but that is okay. Yeah, like I said, we all family over here. All right, it's a citadel, it's a safe space. But y'all let me know how y'all feel. I'm about to watch some other people's reviews because I feel like I'm probably on the island by myself with the way that I think, but that's okay. So please rate, comment, subscribe, and share. And check me out for the next video tomorrow, which will be Real Housewives of Potomac. And we will be on Really Be TV's channel for the Whether You Like It or Not panel to discuss that episode. So with that being said, peace out.